Give me fuel, give me fire, give me that which I desire.
How you doing, everybody? Welcome back to World of Tanks with Scout. Today we're going to be taking a look at this vehicle right here, the Tier 8 Russian tank destroyer, the ISU-152. And I got to tell you, I got this not too long ago and I've been having an absolute blast with this vehicle. What we're going to do, we're going to take a look at some stats real quick. Just a cursory look, to be honest with you. There's not a lot to tell here, but just see how it stacks up to some of its other Tier 8 competitors. And then I'm going to show you an example of some gameplay with the ISU-152. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Let's bring up some of these other Tier 8 tank destroyers and see how this machine stacks up. So as you can see here, what I've done is I've pulled up some of the other Tier 8 non-turreted tank destroyers just so we can get an idea of their stat. And looking across, what you'll notice right away is the ISU-152 with only 1,110 hit points has the lowest hit point total of all of the Tier 8 tank destroyers, with the exception of the AMX AC-48. So Tier 8 tank destroyers, already fragile vehicles. ISU-152 even more so with its low hit point total. And then if we go down to the armor, you'll see the hull armor on the ISU-152 is only 90 millimeters front and side, which is again lower than every other tank destroyer. Even the Jagdpanther 2, which is known more for its sloping than the thickness of its armor. So right away, what you ought to take from that, the ISU-152 is probably one of, if not the most fragile of the Tier 8 tank destroyers. It does, however, have a 700 horsepower engine, which gives it a top speed limit of 43 kilometers per hour, which means for a tank destroyer, this vehicle is actually fairly maneuverable. It's more maneuverable than the T-28. It is more maneuverable than the Ferdinand. More maneuverable, obviously, than the AT-15, but that ain't saying much. But the only thing that's faster than this thing is the Jagdpanther and the AC-48. So really, maneuverability, not all that bad. 21 degree per second track traverse. Again, as you can see, looking across, puts it, well, fair in the middle towards the top. Much better than the T-28, the Ferdinand, and the AT-15. Not quite as good as the AC-48. Or the Jagdpanther 2, so really not too bad in terms of speed and maneuverability. We're going to skip the guns for now, we're going to come back to that, but if we take a look at the view range, you'll notice that the ISU-152 has a 370 meter view range, which is about average. You can see all of these tend to hover around 370, 380 for the Jagdpanther 2, so that's not too bad. The Borsig, by way of comparison, has 400 meter view range, but the Borsig has a turret, so I haven't really included it here. And then 6 range of 625 meters is going to end up being not terrible, but not great either. So what does that mean? Well, what that means is we have a fairly maneuverable machine that has very low hit points. But nothing really jumps out at you. So what is it about the ISU-152 that sets it apart? If you haven't figured it out, if you didn't know already, it is the gun. Now let's pull up some of these guns and see how the ISU-152 stacks up. So what we're looking at here we have the BL-10, which is the top gun on the ISU-152. Right down here, we've got the German 128 Pak 44 L55 from both the Ferdinand and the Jagdpanther 2. Up here we've got the 120mm ACSA-46 from the AMX AC-48. Over here the 32-pound gun on the AT-15. And finally in the top left we have the American 120mm AT gun T-53 from the T-28 and the T-28 prototype. And what you'll notice right away is that the BL-10 has the slowest rate of fire by far, 3.41 rounds per minute. Which does not really even compete with 5 rounds per minute on the German vehicles, and then it just gets worse from there. You'll notice also right away, though, that the 152mm BL-10 has by far the best penetration of any of these guns, as it should. 286 millimeters of penetration with standard AP rounds, 329 with its APCR rounds, and there's none of these guns here that even come close The best you're going to do is actually the French gun, the SA-46, with 257 millimeters of penetration with its standard armor-piercing ammunition. Same story again when we look at average damage. A whopping 750 points of average damage for the BL-10, which is, generally speaking, 350 points more than these 120 millimeter guns. The 128 on the German tank destroyers compares a little more favorably with 490 points of average damage. And then of course the 32-pound gun on the AT-15 doesn't even compare, at only 250. But you do have to keep in mind that gun has other things going for it, namely a 10.17 round per minute rate of fire. Accuracy, none of these guns actually have real great accuracy. You'll notice they all hover around 0.35, give or take a little bit. The German and the British guns are not too bad at 0.33 accuracy, but the BL-10 by far takes the cake for the most horribly inaccurate gun here on this screen with 0.41 dispersion at 100 meters. You will not be sniping anyone with the BL-10. You'll be lucky if you can aim for weak points at 50 meters, let alone at 200 or 300. And it's the same story with aiming time. The BL-10, terrible aim time, 3.4 seconds, which is in some cases more than a second over the aiming time for some of the other guns. But all in all, I would take the BL-10 every time over every one of these guns here, because again, you just cannot beat 286 millimeters of penetration, 750 average damage. What this means is that in most Battle Tier 8 games, you're not even going to have to aim at all. Just point it at them and shoot. And if that 152 millimeter round hits them, it's going to penetrate. And it's going to penetrate for a lot of damage. In point of fact, with 750 points of average damage, you can one-shot most Tier 6 vehicles. You can absolutely maul everything else. In point of fact, with 750 points of average damage, it is not uncommon to see over 800 points of damage in one hit with the BL-10, which is more than enough to just maul any vehicle outside of a Tier 9 or Tier 10 heavy tank. And that is really what the ISU-152 is good at. And you know, as far as accuracy and aiming time, well, there's a reason they call it the troll cannon. It will troll Tier 6, Tier 7, and Tier 8 vehicles, one-shotting them left and right. It will also troll you and completely miss a fully aimed shot. That's just the way it goes when you're dealing with a cannon like this. But in my opinion, the only thing that really compares to that gun, the BL-10, is the 128 millimeter gun on the Rheinmetall Borsig Waffentrager, which, just if you're curious, let's take a look at it right quick just so you can see how it stacks up. Don't really like comparing the Borsig to the ISU-152 because the Borsig does have a turret, so there's some other things to consider there. But here's the 128. Again, it's the L55, but this is a Canon 44, so it does have 246 millimeters of penetration, 490 average damage, 0.35 dispersion at 100 meters, 2.3 second aiming time. It's the rate of fire that's really important here. It's 5.5 rounds per minute. It's almost, not quite, but almost twice as fast as the BL-10. Penetration is not as good, but you gotta figure you can rip off almost 2 shots in the time the BL-10 will get 1 off and get reloaded. And that gives you a little bit more flexibility if you have this gun. And again, the turret, a lot more flexibility. Conversely, you could also mount the 15 centimeter L29.5. This is the 150 millimeter gun that you can put in the Borsig. If you're wondering how that stacks up, it is very much like the BL-10, except it aims much faster, but has much less penetration and fires even slower. So again, really, if you're looking at Tier 8 tank destroyers, you really have 2 types. Well, 3 if you count the AT-15. The AT-15, a whole lot of armor, really rapid firing gun, has low penetration, low average damage. Then you got kind of all the other Tier 8 tank destroyers with their 120 or 128 millimeter guns. They have good penetration, good average damage, and decently accurate, and not slow but not fast aim time. And then you got these 2 guns right here, the BL-10 and the 150 millimeter Pac L 29.5. And of these 2 guns, I don't think there's any competition at all. I think the BL-10 is better by far. So what does that mean for you in the ISU-152? Well, that means you're going to be good at one thing: standing off at range away from your opponents, because you have such a long reload time, and firing at anything that you see And really, and that's in any game that you get into, be it a tier 9 game, battle tier 9, battle tier 8, or even just battle tier 10s or 11. You can penetrate just about anything with standard ammunition. Even tier 10 heavies, you just have to make sure that you're shooting at their flanks if you can, or a flat spot on their front, and you will penetrate with this gun and you will do a lot of damage. But you can't take the return fire like we talked about at the very beginning. Only 1,010 hit points, 90 millimeters of armor. You cannot afford to get seen, and that's going to drive really how you play this vehicle, as well as your cruise skill choices and your equipment choices. Most folks will tell you the first skill you need to max out in this vehicle is camouflage all the way, and then obviously once you've got that maxed out, you can pay a little bit of gold, change it out for 6 cents on your TC, or your vehicle commander, as normal folks call it, and then start going down secondary skills, whatever you would like. Maybe repairs, probably be pretty high. You don't like to be tracking the ISU-152. Me, I'm a little bit different. I've got 6 cents on my commander, and then I went with the view range perk just because I like to see a little bit further. My gunner is actually carried over from my ISU-152, so he still has dead eye, but his camouflage is up at 40% already. And then for my driver, I actually took the clutch turn, brake turning skill, because this thing does traverse fairly slowly, and I'm hoping that will save me in those instances where a medium tank or a heavy tank are charging right at me trying to get up alongside. Hoping that skill will enable me to pivot just fast enough to get one last shot in before he pulls it in next to me and I'm helpless. But again, just don't really pay attention to my skills. It's a conglomeration of transferred crew members and stuff. I would really go camouflage all the way, and then once I got to 100%, I would swap out camouflage for 6 cents on my vehicle commander. His second skill would then be camouflage, and then everybody else. Once you got camouflage down, it's really up to you. Repairs is probably not a bad choice at all, but there are some other things that you can do there. In terms of equipment, I take the enhanced gun lane drive because the aiming time on this gun is not good, as we have seen. Obviously, you're going to take a large caliber tank gun rammer. There's some instances where you may want to take this over the enlaying drive so that you can take this and then binos. I prefer both of these. I've kind of resigned myself to the fact that I need other people to do my spotting for me because of how fragile this vehicle is, and that's why I took those two pieces of equipment instead of the rammer and the binos. And then again, you know, because you're so vulnerable in this thing, you have such little armor, so few hit points, you really need to do to equip a camouflage net. And so that's it. That's the quick rundown of the ISU-152. My recommendations as far as crew skills and equipment. So let's take a look at some gameplay and see how this thing plays. So here we are on Fishing Bay in a tier 10 game. This is about the worst matchmaking you will get in an ISU-152. It can get a little bit worse than this. You could get all tier 10s and just like 2 or 3 tier 8s, but really at that point you're splitting hairs. This is a pretty rough matchup to be a tier 8 tank in, but fortunately our team stacks up against the opposing team very well in terms of skills of players. So not feeling too bad about this, but I am cautious. And what I'm going to do is first I'm going to knock down this little building just in case I ever need to come back here and shoot somebody that's trying to cap. And then I'm going to move over to the east side, which is where most of your tank destroyers typically go. My plan here is to get up in these trees on the high ground and then cover the one line and that low ground that is just to the west of the road you see running north and south in between the 1 and 2 lines. There's a enemy scout off to our left already. Really hoping that he doesn't spot me, because that would be a bad day. Fortunately, there's no artillery to worry about in this game, and that is another thing in our favor, because I want to get into a tree or a bush, preferably with a tree or bush in front of me, and then I don't want to move. I don't want to be spotted at all in this game. That's the idea. Pull up here, get behind this bush. We got a T-69 and an Object 430 out there in front of us spotting for us. Let's see if we can't line up some shots. There's a Waffentrager Alpha Panzer IV. Aim. Had to fire the shot because we lost him. Not sure if that's going to hit or not. M103 down here chasing an object 430, and he's doing the smart thing. He's pulling him back to the left where we can get a shot on this M103. Had to be careful there, had to aim high, didn't want to hit the 430. Unfortunately, we hit the M103's turret and got a bounce. I would have normally aimed straight into his flank, but you see how big that dispersion marker is. I couldn't risk hitting the object 430. Now we've got the side of the M103's turret, and there's a big hit for 705 points of damage. And then the 430 finishes him off. We lose the T69, but the T54 is coming over to help. Still looking for that Waffentrager off Panzer IV. See the E75 out there, realize that because of draw distance limitations it's not going to pop up on the screen, so I'm going to move up here and try to get a shot on this E75. And then the Tiger II comes up, he gets set on fire. Get up over this ridge, see if I can get a shot lined up and secure the kill on the Tiger II. Kind of a waste of a 152mm round, but I'll take the kill. And look at this. Apparently the speed bump is enough to stop the ISU-152 dead in its tracks. Trying to line up a sneaky shot here on that Waffentrager, but he goes back down. Now let's come left a little bit and see if I can finagle my way up. I really didn't want to come this far left because now I'm concerned I can be seen without those bushes in the way, but now we get a nice shot at the side of that E75's turret, able to squeak it in there and pick up a second kill. Now I'm trying to get out of here because I'm concerned I may have been seen. Looking at this Waffentrager, no shot here, maybe get another shot here, nope, nothing there. And so now while there's nothing going on, we're going to try to reposition, get in some bushes, get somewhere that I can ensure that no one sees me. And hello, Mr. Tortoise. Looks like a tortoise trying to flank our scouts out there. Expecting him to come out right here. Aiming for that top left port. And where'd he go? There he is. He comes back out again. Got his flank to us, so we go ahead and fire the shot. Get a big hit. 798 points of damage on that tier 9 tortoise. He will probably reconsider carefully before he gives us his flank again. Trying to line up a shot on the Pershing, give some support to the T-54, who's now the only scout we have out in front of us. And you can see he's staring down that Pershing, a tortoise, and at least 2 Waffentrager Panzer IVs. So we're not going to go anywhere. We're going to use him to spot targets for us and then shoot while we're outside of the enemy's draw distance so that they can't see us. Want to make sure the Pershing doesn't make a run straight at the T-54 without I'm getting a shot into him. And I also want to check left and make sure that tortoise doesn't try to come around and flank the T-54. I haven't seen anybody for a while, so I decided to go ahead and use the opportunity to move right back into the bush. You'll remember this is the bush I was trying to get to earlier. Trying to line up a shot on the Pershing. Unbelievably got a bounce off of his gun mantle. There goes the luckiest Pershing in the world. And again, we're just going to continue to be patient. You see the T-54 and I are the only 2 vehicles on this side of the map. We got a T-61 in the middle looking at a T-28 prototype, and then everybody else is out in the city out on the east side of the map. And there's that tortoise. Kind of figured he'd come back up again, lining up, going for that gun port again, able to secure a hit. And there's what we talked about in the garage, 819 points of damage to that tortoise in one shot, and he immediately starts backing up. Trying to line up a shot here at the tip of the Pershing's turret, but he goes back down before we can get it lined up. You can see how aim and reload time are a very big issue in this ISU-152, and there we go, get the shot we're looking for. Unfortunately, it's a low damage roll, only 693 points of damage. It sounds kind of perverse to say that's a low damage roll, but it is. Otherwise that Pershing would have been much more unhappy than he is. And the T-54 uses that opportunity to move up. And of course, as soon as he does, here's the tortoise looking to come over, save the Pershing, get the kill. forgets that we're sitting here waiting on him. We're able to put one into the flank of the tortoise and secure the kill. There, the T-54 gets the kill on the Pershing, which means there's only the 2 Waffentraggers left. And I'm looking to scoot up and get a little bit more to the left and try to continue supporting this T-54. A little bit concerned now because if they pop up way down there on the southern edge of the map, they're going to be outside of my draw distance. But I don't think they're back there. I think they've gone left. So for the first time in this game, you see me breaking away from the scout and going out on my own to where I think these Waffentraggers are. Pretty sure they're just behind this ridge over here. T-54 is coming about. The 5120's in town. That's why I stopped here, made a break for these bushes. Thought I might be able to get some shots here. No shot on that Waffentragger Alpha Panzer IV there. Didn't think I would get a shot on that Borsig, and oh, thought I saw the top of a turret. We'll take that. Again, kind of depressing to waste a 152mm round for 383 points of damage, but we'll take it to get the kill on a tier 9 tank destroyer. And probably not going to get over there in time to get the kill on that Borsig. There's a whole lot of very upset tanks surrounding him, and there he goes. So that's it. Pretty successful game considering how low we were in the tier order on Fishing Bay. Let's take a look at the results screen and see how that panned out. So there's our results from that game on Fisherman's Bay. We got a mastery badge. I believe that's the sharpshooter ribbon. I can never keep those straight. High caliber and the tank sniper award, 40,052 credits, 2,734 experience points. That's a double for the first victory of the day. Let's take a look at the team score. And there you see at least one of our blind shots hit, probably that first one at that Waffentrager Alpha Panzer IV. So when it was all said and done, in a tier 10 game with a tier 8 tank destroyer, we were able to inflict 5,242 points of damage. Also able to secure 4 kills. Total base experience 1,367 points, which is a really good game in my book. And you see no one else even came close to inflicting the amount of damage that we did in the ISU-152. And that's just what I was talking about in the garage right there. This thing, all you really need to do is have just 1 or 2 good scouts on your team. Just somebody in front of you to spot targets while you stay back. And all of a sudden that reload time isn't such a huge deal. And if you can just get this gun barking more than 3 or 4 times in a game before you get eliminated, you're going to post monstrous numbers like this all the time. To be honest with you, even in games where I get 3 or 4 shots in and then get killed, you're still looking at over 2,000 points of damage. You're going to get a decent score. So it just behooves you in this vehicle. Play cautiously. Keep your gun in play, because if you can keep it in play the whole game and keep it busy, not just camping in a corner where you're not shooting anything, but keep it busy, you're going to have results like this almost every time. Looking at the detailed report, you can see I fired 10 shots, fired 11 shots, got 10 direct hits. Of those 10 hits, 9 penetrated, giving us our total 5,242 points of damage. Not a single shot came our way. Not sure if anyone ever even spotted me that entire game. Damaged 6 enemy vehicles, destroyed 4 of them. Even got credit for 132 points of assistance damage. Not sure how that is, but fine, we'll take it. Pulled in 40,052 credits, and after, well, no repair but rearm, was able to take home 21,902 credits. So there you have it, folks. That's my take on how the ISU-152 should be played in that type of game. Now, when it's a tier 8 and below game, you can be a little more aggressive with it. But again, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I really think in this vehicle, because you have so little armor, so few hit points, you just sit behind the lines, preferably behind 2 bushes where you can't be spotted at all, and keep that BL-10 gun firing. Keep it in play. Take care of your hit points. Don't throw them away. Don't take a hit that you don't absolutely have to take, because if you can keep this gun in play and keep it firing, you're going to end up with monstrous results like this every game. So that's it, folks. That's all for now. I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you found it helpful. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.